Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are good. So today we will be talking about some more NUST entry test past paper questions from the math section, specifically from the 13th and 14th chapters, which are solutions of trigonometric equations and inverse trigonometric functions. Now this video is the second part. The first part is already uploaded on our channel. Please make sure that before watching the second part you go and watch the first part, because there we have already done some questions which are basic, and only then you would be able to understand the questions which we'll be doing in this video. Okay, but obviously before doing the questions we will have a quick overview about the topic, just so everyone is on the same page. Okay, so let's talk about it. All right, now this is something I've been talking about already. In NET you won't be using your calculators because calculators are not allowed. The data booklet would not be given, so you need to memorize a few things. So you need to know the values of sine, cos, and tan on 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, or 90 degrees. Or if we talk about the angle in radians, so on 0, pi by 6, pi by 4, pi by 3, and pi by 2, right? So it's simple. Sine theta is 0 when the theta is 0. Sine theta is half when theta is pi by 6 or 30 degrees. It is root 2 by 2 when theta is pi by 4 or 45 degrees. Cos theta is root 2 by 2 when theta is pi by 4 or 45 degrees. Cos theta is half when the theta is 60 degrees or pi by 3, and it is 0 when theta is 90 or pi by 2. Now, some students say that what if we memorize the graph of cosine tan? Would that be enough? Obviously, you'll have to memorize that, because before these videos, we discussed the chapter where we had to talk about the graphs of trigonometric functions. So that is given. But the graph would help you find values on 0, 90, 180, and then 360, right? You won't be able to know the value at 30, 45, 60 through the graph. So you must memorize this table. I'm pretty sure you guys would be able to memorize this in 5 minutes. It's not difficult, right? Then again for tan, tan is 0. When theta is 0, it is root 3 by 3. When it is 30 degrees, it is undefined when theta is 90 degrees. So this is something that you need to memorize. It is extremely important. Those who have given NET1 and NET2, you guys must be knowing, if you um, have given the test without memorizing these, that most of the questions you were not able to do just because you did not have your calculators with you and you did not know the values of sine, cos, tan on 0, 30, 45, and 60. Obviously guess might work, but in NET when you have 200 MCQs and they are to be solved in 3 hours, so you need to be quick. Okay, all right, so this is clear. We'll be referring to this table and again, and inshallah by the end of this class things would be on your fingertips. All right, okay, so let's talk about an example here. Okay, now the topic under discussion is solutions of trigonometric equation. Now, when we say a trigonometric equation, what exactly comes to your mind? It would be an equation. When we say equation, that would have equality sign, and it would be having a trigonometric function. So it would be sine x equals 1, or it could be anything. You can have multiple trigonometric functions in one trigonometric equation, and that would be a complicated version of these questions, but we'll be talking about those as well. Okay, all right, so this is your trigonometric equation, and is this is the interval of your theta or x or whatever the variable is. Okay, this is extremely important. You need to understand that these intervals are important while answering the questions, because we'll be giving all the values which are lying in this interval. Okay, all right, so first step is simple. Whenever you have any equation and you've been asked to solve it, you need to find the value of the unknown. The unknown is x here. In order to find the value of x, we'll take sine inverse on both sides. Sine inverse sine would be cancelled. and sine inverse 1 would be what? You'll be doing this without calculator. So even if you know the graph, you would be knowing the value. If not, then sine is 1 when your theta is 90 degrees or pi by 2. Okay, now they are going with 90 degrees because this interval is in degrees. So if the interval is in degrees, make sure that you answer the questions in degrees. Okay, one answer is 90 degrees. So what about the other answers now? If we talk about the graph of sine, it is something of this type and it's complete. This is one complete period, and then I can make it once again. So this value is 90 degrees and sine is 1 at this point. And then what about this value? This value is 360 plus 90, that is 450. And again, your sine is 1 at this point. So since 450 is lying in the range, that is why 90 degrees and 450 would be the answer. If I continue making this graph again, this point would also be the correct answer because sine theta is again 1 at this point, but it would be something more than 720. This is 720 and it would be 810. Okay, so 810 is not valid in our case because it is outside the interval. That is why the answers are going to be 90 degrees and 450 degrees. So now we know that while answering these questions, we have to be sure that our answer must lie in the interval and we need to look for all the values. All right, now here is another example. We'll talk about it quickly. It says 2 cos square theta plus 3 sine theta minus 3 equals 0. This again is a trigonometric equation because you have equality sign and these are trigonometric functions. And whenever you've been asked to solve any equation, you need to find the value of the unknown variable. How do you solve this? Always remember, the previous example was very easy because we had only one trigonometric function. Here we have two different types of trigonometric functions, and that is the problem. Okay, sine square theta and sine theta, they are different. So I need to make sure that I convert one of these trigonometric functions into the other one, just so I have one trigonometric function in this equation. So I know that cos square theta plus sine square theta is equal to 1. So I can write down this cos square theta as, I can make it the subject and I would get 1 minus sine square theta. So I can write it down this way. When I can write it down this way, upon simplification, I would get this. Now this is a good version of the same trigonometric equation because the trigonometric functions are same in this case. All right, okay. What next? Then we are just going to simplify this, and this is what you will get at the end. Now, how do we solve this? Now, obviously, we can use substitution. We can say that t is equal to sine theta, and then upon replacing t with sine theta, you will get a quadratic equation. How do we solve quadratic equations? By factorizing. It's simple. You guys know that already. So it is t minus 1, and it is 2t minus 1 equals 0. How are we going to solve this? How do we find the value? So for this one, you will say that t is equal to 1 and t is equal to 1 by 2. Since t was sine theta, so you can say sine theta equals 1 and sine theta equals half. Again, the question was about solving an equation. So your end goal is to find the value of the unknown variable, that is your theta. So you'll take sine inverse on both sides. And how do you know the value pi by 2 and pi by 6? From the table. Sine is 1 at pi by 2. Sine is 1 by 2 at pi by 6. Okay, now in this question, the interval is not given. So we don't care if the theta is coming in degrees or radians, that is completely fine. You can give the answer in both. So it would be pi by 2 and pi by 6. And yes, we can have more solutions as well, but that totally depends on your interval. Okay, this time around we do not have any interval, that is why the answer is going to be This much only. Otherwise, you need to see whatever your interval is, and then you'll be answering the question. Okay. And then the last thing in the overview, and the most important thing, is these four groups of identities for the inverse functions which you need to memorize. Okay. I'll just highlight the most important ones. All of them are very important, but I'll just highlight the most important ones. Sine inverse of minus x is equal to minus sine inverse of x. Now you will see in the questions that you would be having sine inverse of something negative inside it. However, in this table, we do not have anything negative, right? All these values are like 0 is 0, but other than 0, all of them are positive. This is positive, this is positive, this is positive, this is positive, all of them are positive. So whenever you come across a negative angle, not negative angle, negative value of sine cos tan, how do we deal with it? We deal with it using these identities. So you just write down minus outside, and you'll just find the value of simple sine inverse of x. Again, if it is cos inverse minus x, it would become pi minus cos inverse x. If it is tan inverse minus x, minus would come outside and it would become tan inverse x. So this and this, these are the three most important ones from the first group. Then if I talk about the second one, that is very easy. Like if I talk about this group right here, now you can see that all of these identities are making sense, right? Sine and cos is giving you pi by 2, tan inverse and cot inverse is also giving you pi by 2, secant inverse and cosecant inverse is also giving you pi by 2. But still, this is the most important one. Always remember, whenever you have sine inverse of x plus cos inverse of x, their sum is going to give you pi by 2. This must be same, and if you have sine inverse and cos inverse, it would give you pi by 2. Then here, these three are very, very important. The problem is that students know cosecant is 1 by sine. So at times they say that cosecant inverse is 1 by sine inverse, which is absolutely wrong. Okay, cosecant inverse is equal to sine inverse with 1 by x. Secant inverse is equal to cos inverse 1 by x. Cot is equal to 1 by tan. So cot inverse would be equal to tan inverse 1 by x. Okay. These are very important. You'll see I'll be referring to these identities again and again. And then you would be able to see the, why am I emphasizing on these again and again. All right. And then the fourth group is easy. It makes sense. It's okay if you don't memorize them. Obviously, you know sine and sine inverse would be cancelled out. It would give you x. Cos and cos inverse would be cancelled. Tan and tan inverse would be cancelled, and so on. Right? Okay. So this is what we'll be dealing with in this chapter. All right, now let's talk about the questions which we did not cover yesterday. So we were done with these questions. Those who haven't watched the first part, please go and watch the first part because we have already covered these questions. Okay. All right. So let's get started with the ninth question. This is what we need to do today. Okay. All right. So it says cot inverse of x. So I've just told you cot of x is 1 by tan. But when we talk about cot inverse of x, cot inverse of x is equal to tan inverse 1 by x. Okay. So the answer is going to be tan inverse 1 by x in this case. So it would be B. This would be your answer. Okay. Let's talk about the next question. Okay. Now it is about cosecant inverse. Again, cosecant is 1 by sine, but cosecant inverse is not 1 by sine inverse. Cosecant inverse is sine inverse 1 by x. Okay, so the answer is going to be D in this case. Okay, let's talk about this one. All right, now it says the domain of secant inverse of x. Now, yesterday we discussed such questions, and this is what I was telling you. I'll talk about it once again. domain of inverse function is equal to the range of function. Okay. Now the question is about the domain of secant inverse of x. This is your inverse function. Let's say you're not familiar with the domain of secant inverse of x, because obviously we cannot memorize a lot of stuff. We know how to plot secant, cosecant, and cot, but we don't know how to plot secant inverse, cosecant inverse, and cot inverse. So the best thing is, which you can do, domain of secant inverse would basically be same as the range of secant, right? So now you need to find the range of secant function. All right. Now, what would be the range of secant function? Now, you know, if we talk about the graph of secant, secant is 1 by cos. So the graph of cos is something of this type. I'll just rub that, but I need it for the making of the graph. And now I'll use a different color. Okay. So this is the graph of secant, the purple one, right? So what is happening? You don't have any value there, you don't have any value here. And this is -1 and 1. Now, since we are interested in the range of secant x, so when we say range, we focus on the y-axis, and you can clearly see that you do not have any value between -1 and 1. So you have values greater than 1 and less than -1. So the answer is going to be D in this case. X is greater than or equal to 1 and x is less than or equal to -1. Obviously, when we talk about range, we are referring to y-axis. They have x here because technically the question was about the domain, right? So do not get confused with this part. You'll be answering MCQs only, so things would make sense to you, and inshallah you would be able to do them logically. All right, so D is going to be the answer for this question. Okay, here is the next question. Now it says the domain of cot inverse of x. Again, you don't know how to make the graph of cot inverse. You know that the domain of cot inverse would be same as the range of cot x. You know how to make cot x? So if you know how to make cot x, you would be knowing that the range is valid, all the values on the y-axis are valid, and you have some value on the graph against all the values of the y-axis. So this means that the range of cot x is all the real numbers. It means that the domain of cot inverse would be having all the real numbers. So it is going to be option number A. Option A. Okay. All right. Now this is the 13th question, and it says the range of cos inverse of x. Now the question is about the range of cos inverse of x. So here we have multiple ways. Either you can think about the domain, like the domain of cos x. Now we know when we talk about the domain of cos x, all the values, all the real numbers are valid. Why? Because this question is a bit different, so please stay attentive. It starts off from here and we stop here, but I can make the graph of cos continuously. Similarly, I can make this graph on the side as well. So all of these values are valid, right? So it means we have the entire x-axis, so it means it would be R. Okay, now we know that the domain of cos x is R, but we can have some specific restriction as well, right? The domain could be from 0 to pi, it could be from 0 to 2 pi, it could be from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. So that can happen. It is completely fine. Okay. So this means that A cannot be the answer because this is more of the range of cos. And here the question is about the range of cos inverse. B might be the answer. C again. Now, if we talk about C, this value is pi by 2. This value is minus pi by 2, and the domain, for the domain, minus pi by 2 and pi by 2 are also included. So these brackets are basically saying that everything between these numbers are valid, but not on minus pi by 2 and pi by 2, right? That is why it is wrong. And then D, you cannot say none because this can be the correct domain. It is completely fine to have some portion of the domain and not the entire domain. So the answer is going to be B in this case. Okay. So again, the question was about the range of an inverse function. We did not know the range. We know how to find the domain of that function. So the domain actually is the entire set of real numbers. But obviously, you can have some specific portion from that set of real numbers, and that is from 0 to pi. That would be option B. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the next question then. Okay. Now the question says tan of cos inverse minus 1 by 2. All right. Now it is important. So it is tan of this value. So you need to find the angle first by finding the value of cos inverse minus 1 by 2. Okay. Now I won't go up and down again and again because that would take a lot of time. Now I told you guys in the table that we are following right now, we do not have any negative value, right? The only values we have for cos, sine and tan theta are positive. So how do we deal with this? For this you need to know this is the table. You can see that cos is positive 1 by 2. We do not have any negative values. All of them are positive. So how do we deal with the question given? What happens when cos inverse of minus x appears? Cos inverse of minus x is pi minus cos inverse of x. Okay. So you are going to do pi minus cos inverse of 1 by 2. Alright, now it is pi minus cos inverse of 1 by 2. Okay, now you need to find the value of cos inverse 1 by 2. Here is the table. It is 60 degrees or pi by 3. So we can take pi by 3 because in the formula we are doing pi minus pi by 3. So I will have pi minus pi by 3, and this is going to give me, I'll have 3 here, 3 pi minus pi, and it would give me 2 pi by 3. Now I need to find the value of tan at 2 pi by 3. Now we do not have the values of sine, cos, tan for obtuse angles. We only have for acute angles. Now you need to think about it logically. This value would be lying in the second quadrant. This is 2 pi by 3. It would be lying in the second quadrant, and the basic angle would be pi by 3, right? If it is lying in the second quadrant, you know in the second quadrant sine is greater than 0, so tan would must be negative. So it would be negative value, and you will find the value at which point? You need to find the value at tan pi by 3, okay? So tan pi by 3 would basically give you root 3. It would be root 3, but it would be coming with a negative sign. Why with a negative sign? Because obviously it is lying in the second quadrant. All right, in case of any confusions, any difficulties, just ask me right now. I'll answer you here just so we are clear and then we can continue. All right, so the answer would be minus pi by 3. Please comment in the comment box if you have queries. I'll answer you directly. Okay. So this is going to be D. Yes, I'll wait for a few seconds. If you have any questions, any queries, just ask me right now, just so we are clear with everything. All right, okay. I hope that we have no questions. All right, let's talk about the 15th question then. Okay. Now the 15th question is sine inverse 1 plus cos inverse 1. Now for solving this, we have multiple ways. One way could be that you can make the graph of sine pi by 2, and you can make the graph of cos 0 and this is 1. Okay, now this is for sine, this is for cos. Sine is 1 when theta is pi by 2. Cos is 1 when theta is 0. So sine inverse of 1 is basically at pi by 2 and cos inverse of 1 is basically 0. So this would give you pi by 2 as your answer. So it would be B. But even if you don't want to spend this much time and you want to just find the answer directly, so this is one of the inverse identities I marked as most important. Whenever you have sine inverse x plus cos inverse x, it would give you pi by 2 as long as these two values are same. So that is the only condition. As long as you have sine inverse cos inverse of x and the x is same, you would get pi by 2. So the answer would be pi by 2 in that case. All right, so it would be B. Okay, let's talk about the next question then. Okay. Now, this is an interesting question, and here we will be talking about a few identities which I did not include in the overview because then it becomes a lot for the students. Okay, the question says if x is tan inverse 1 by 2 and if y is tan inverse 1 by 3, then what is x plus y? So, technically, you need to find tan inverse 1 by 2 plus tan inverse 1 by 3. Now, this would have been an easy question if you were allowed to use calculators or if you had the values of tan inverse and tan inverse on 1 by 2 and 1 by 3, right? We do not have any value in the tan row where you have tan theta equals to 1 by 2 or 1 by 3. So it means things would be different here. All right, let's see how to deal with this question. Okay. Now we have a property. I'll be writing down the property down there. The property says that if you have tan inverse of A plus tan inverse of B, you can write it down this way. Tan inverse of A plus B divided by 1 minus AB. This is what you need to understand. Okay, tan inverse of A plus tan inverse of B is basically equal to tan inverse of A plus B divided by 1 minus AB. Now you don't know what is the value of tan inverse 1 by 2, tan inverse 1 by 3. Let's see what would be A plus B divided by 1 minus AB, and we might be able to figure out that very value. Okay, all right. So it would be A is going to be 1 by 2 and B is going to be 1 by 3 in this case. So we need to do A plus B divided by 1 minus AB. And what do you know? You know that A is 1 by 2, B is 1 by 3 divided by 1 minus 1 by 2 into 1 by 3, that is 1 by 6. Okay. All right. Now, how do we simplify this? The numerator would become 6 by taking the LCM, and it would be 3 plus 2 divided by, again it would be 6 and it would be 5 by 6. So this would be 5 by 6 and this would be 5 by 6, so it would give you 1. All right, so now this tan inverse 1 by 2 plus tan inverse 1 by 3 would basically be equal to tan inverse of 1. And what is the value of tan inverse 1? We need to go to the table. This is 1 and it would be pi by 4 or 45 degrees. So you need to choose pi by 4 or 45 degrees. All the values are in radians, so the answer is going to be D in this case. Okay, so you have to be careful while solving these questions. We need to think about these questions logically. Initially, I was not able to solve it because I did not know the value of tan inverse half and tan inverse 1 by 3, because those values would not be given in the table. And I could see that x plus y is basically this thing, which can be written this way. So upon finding out the value of a plus b by 1 minus ab, I got 1, and I know what would be the value of tan inverse 1. So the answer is going to be D in this case. Okay, let's talk about another question. Now it says tan into sine inverse half. So this would give me the value of theta, and then I can find the value of tan theta. So I need to find the value of sine inverse half. For that, I'll have to scroll up to the table. Now sine is half when theta is 30 or pi by 6. Okay. So now I know that it would be 30 degrees or it would be pi by 6, and I need to find the value of tan on 30 degrees or pi by 6, right? So let's see what is the value of tan at 30 degrees. So tan at 30 degrees is root 3 by 3. This is 30 degrees, this is tan, so the value is root 3 by 3. So this is going to be the answer. Alright, so this turned out to be root 3 by 3, and I can write this as root 3 by root 3 multiplied by root 3. This and this would be cancelled, and I would get 1 by root 3. So the answer would be A. Now initially this is what I got and I was not able to find it, so I had to simplify it just so I could see the correct answer. This would happen in any T. At times, to all the answers, like when I'm teaching, the students are telling me the correct answers. All of them are mathematically correct, but only one answer matches. Because you have MCQs, you need to simplify the answer as much as you can just so it matches the options you have in the choices. All right, okay. Let's talk about the next question then. Okay. Now it says cos of tan inverse infinity. So This is tan inverse infinity. So first of all, you need to find the value of tan inverse infinity, and then we will talk about the value of cos at that point. Now, for this question, either you can refer to the table or you can think about it logically. This is the graph of tan. This value is pi by 2, and again we have a similar shape, but we are not interested in that. This is tan theta. Now, you can see that this dotted line is an asymptote for the graph, and it would be going on continuously till infinity. So the value is pi by 2. You can also refer to this table. Tan is undefined, or it is infinity at 90 degrees or pi by 2. So this value has turned out to be pi by 2. Alright, one thing is clear. This would be pi by 2. Now you need to find the value of cos at pi by 2. In order to find the value of cos at pi by 2, you need to understand multiple things. Either you can think about it using the graph or you can just follow the table. So let's make the graph because we need to practice all the content, not just one table which you'll be memorizing. So this is the graph of cos. This is 2 pi, this is pi, and this is pi by 2. This is cos theta, and this is theta in radians. So cos at pi by 2 is this, that is 0, this is 1, and then this value is minus 1, so it would be 0. So the answer for the 18th question is going to be 0. All right, okay, so these are some questions which we have discussed in this video. This was the last question. The first part of this video is already uploaded on our channel. You can just go and solve those questions as well. In case of any queries, you can ask me right now. I'll just wait for a few seconds. Just comment in the comment box and I'll answer you directly. If not, then you can use the link in description to get yourselves enrolled for the live classes where we'll be talking about all the syllabus and stuff like that. These questions are done in the first part, so you can just go and watch the first part. And this was the overview. We had some identities related to inverse functions, and then this was an example which was a complicated one because again we had cos and sine. We had two different trigonometric functions, and first we had to make them same, and then it became a quadratic equation, and upon simplification we got answers. And then this was a simple question, and this table was something that we have been using today, and you guys can see how important this table is. Whatever I add in the overview is just the bare minimum amount which you guys need to memorize, because otherwise you would not be able to solve the paper, right? Those who have given NET1 and NET2, you guys must be knowing at times students are just giving those exams to see the pattern and everything. The questions were easy, but only because you did not know the identities, you did not have calculators, you were not able to solve them. So now when you would memorize good amount of stuff, you would be able to do a better job then. Okay, all right, so that is it for today. Then if you're interested in proper classes where we'll be covering past paper questions as well as course contents, you can just use the link in description and get yourselves enrolled. The classes would be starting soon, and then I will see you next time. All right, then take care. Allah Hafiz.